everyone, and welcome to the BPD Bunch Brunch, where we get together with our favorite brunchy beverages to catch up, play games, and talk about all things BPD. I'm your host, Xannie, and today I am here with Mo, Georgette, Solène, and Andrea. Where in the world is everyone coming from, and what is your brunchy beverage?
I'm coming from New Jersey, and I have seltzer.
San Antonio, Texas, and I've got coffee.
London, UK, and I've got water.
I'm from Central Ohio, and I have salted caramel black tea.
Ooh.
Super good, yeah.
I'm in New Mexico in the US, and I am double fisting. I've got orange juice and coffee because I couldn't just choose one. So today for brunch, we are just gonna chat about what our lives are like now, the ups, the downs, the wins, the losses, and have a grand old time. So maybe I'll just go because I already know what I wanted to bring.
Lead us off.
Towards the end of this last year, I really started noticing how often I get dissociated, and not in a really extreme way. It's just like very mild, like disconnected from my body. You know, not that I'm dysfunctional, like I can still go through my life, but the problem is that if you're not really connected to your body, you're not really connected to your emotions either. And so then sometimes emotions would hit me really strongly because I wasn't really paying attention to my body. And my best friend roped me into doing a 30-day yoga journey in January. I historically have not really been a huge fan of yoga, but the more I did it, the easier it got. And I also started going to a Zumba class with a friend of mine. And both of those things together really showed me how much easier it is to use my skills and like sort of preemptively avoid being dissociated so often if I'm doing more activities that keep me in my body. I mean, I haven't been doing yoga as much since the 30-day thing ended, but I have been going to Zumba twice a week. And, you know, at first I was like, we should be going to the gym every day. Gung-ho. But I realized that's been part of the challenge and like why it's been so hard to do regular exercise in the past, because I was trying to go from not doing it at all to doing it every day. Even just like weekdays was too much, because I'd be like, oh, I can take a day off, and then, you know, one day would turn into 6 months. So I am excited to report that I've gone to Zumba on Tuesday and Thursday, with only 2 exceptions since the beginning of January. I'm just really excited about that, you know, and I wish that when it came to exercise, could be more self-directed, but I think accepting that I'm just not that interested in exercise for exercise sake. My friend and I, we chat with all the other people in the class, and it's a social thing as much as it is exercise. That really helps me like want to keep going. You know, it's something that I look forward to. It's not like, oh, I have to go to Zumba and exercise. I guess the thing that I've learned from that is that, like, if there's something that, you know, you need to do for your own health, try it. If you can find a way to make it fun, do that. It's funny because there's like this glass. Everyone outside can see us in the Zumba class. But it's like, who cares? Like, I'm having fun. It's good exercise, so...
But it's kind of fun seeing the people on the, like, when you're on the outside and you're, like, walking past. Like, I've seen it at a mall before, a Zumba class, and you're on the outside and you're like, look at those people having fun. Go them, you know? It's I don't know. I like seeing people have fun.
I like that you, like, recognize that a lot of people go from try to do 0 to 60 and sustain it. And I think that usually doesn't work out. And I've done that myself with like exercise, because I used to be, 7 days a week at it. And I've just kind of let go and been like, just do what I can.
In terms of habit building, the thing that I've learned is as long as I'm doing like these 2 days consistently, that's more important than like going every day for 1 week.
Yeah, exactly, because it's sustainable.
I am trying to do some more exercise like on my own, which is still difficult for me. But I think it's easier to not be so judgy about it with myself, because I know that my friend is coming to get me on Tuesday and Thursday. And even if I'm not able to like get myself to exercise in between, like, we're for sure going to Zumba. So that kind of like helps keep that, from falling apart. One of the things I did want to ask, since we're on the topic of exercise, I'm just curious if anybody else has ever experienced this, because I feel like Sometimes, especially if I haven't been processing my emotions, if I exercise, all of a sudden I'll be in contact with my emotions. Like one time, my husband and I went to the gym and we're working out, and I'm just like, I don't know what's going on, but I feel like I'm about to burst into tears right now. Has anybody else ever experienced that?
Totally.
I've
Yeah.
tried lifting weights. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
I have a card that somebody said, like, it's okay to cry in Savasana. And I was like, oh my God, yes.
It's unfortunate when you don't know the actual yoga poses and everybody else is just like doing them and you're just like, wait, what? What did she want me to do?
Yeah.
So, and so I did this workshop and it was really cool because she just did the basics and she like and there was only 3 of us. So she like went around and she adjusted our bodies. And then like at the very end of the workshop, and she was like, okay, so now we're going to do it all together. And I remember like, I started crying and she was like, there's always one person that cries. And she was like, what are you feeling? And I was like, I'm alive. I have a body and it moves. And she's like,
That's
yes,
beautiful.
that's right. You do? And I was like, oh my God, this is great.
That's so cool.
It's interesting that we're talking about the body because the topic I was going to bring up is also linked to the body. It's not exercise, but it's like, I've been pretty unwell physically for like the past month now. I have this like really weird, like super bloated belly kind of situation. And I'm doing like, even this morning I had like this blood test done, just like trying to figure out what the hell is going on. And I'm still working out and stuff, but it's so much harder because like I feel like so heavy and so gross and so, when you just feel like, oh my God. And so I just like wanted to kind of open that up and just ask, like, do you also get this kind of situation where like your physical body is not well and that is impacting the BPD and the symptoms and all of it because it's just like heightening a lot of the anger.
Me and Andrea are like, yes,
Yes.
we feel
Okay,
you there, girl.
tell me everything.
I don't even know where to start. It did not occur to me like what was happening to me whenever I first started experiencing the symptoms, because whenever like I would feel like that, like bloating or whatever, I would just think like, I just have to like go back to eating clean, I'll be fine, no big deal. And then it just occurred to me that it wasn't working anymore and I didn't know why. And so then I finally went to go see a doctor and they ended up telling me that I had IBS. I'm a little embarrassed bringing that up.
It's okay.
I will tell you all about it.
Same. I was
But, yeah, they
diagnosed
ended up
11 years ago, so don't worry. Yeah.
Yeah, so they ended up telling me that, and I was just like, what do you mean? And so, so I had to cut out all of these foods, and I was like, well, how do you make it go away? And they were just like, stress. Like, you are so stressed out. Like, you got to chill out. Because I stress out over
How
like
do
the
you
littlest
do that?
Exactly. So, I mean, all I'm really doing by changing my diet is just the bare minimum because I'm still stressed out. So I can definitely sympathize with like that overwhelming feeling of just heaviness and just why do I feel so terrible?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, thank you, Andrea. That validated me.
Are you under stress? You should reduce your stress, but they don't give you any usable, like, how do you do that?
Drink water, go for a walk. You're like, really? I didn't think of that.
I do think sometimes though, like the simple things do help, like the exercise, like exercise, what everybody is describing is like a form of mindfulness, because you're focused on when you're saying like, I'm in my body, I'm feeling in my body, it's like a form of mindfulness, right? You're paying attention to what's happening in your physical, like your skin suit. And that mindfulness itself, it kind of, you can't pay attention to other things at the same time. So you're blocking a lot of that out. And that's, I think, maybe a little bit how like the stress relief from exercise works, because you're giving your mind a break for a little bit.
Stress is such a difficult one for me though, because I realize that it feels strange to admit, but I love being stressed out. For me, my ADHD and BPD really, really overlap. And now that I have more of the the skills to deal with the emotional stuff, I think the underlying like ADHD that's been a major fueling for the BPD is really like coming to like to light in a way that it didn't before. When the urgency of the deadlines of like uploading episodes isn't imminent, like I try to work ahead so that I'm not like being a crazy person at the last minute, but actually when there isn't anything that is like pushing me to get things done immediately, I actually get depressed and it's harder for me to get stuff done. There's something about the urgency and the stress that like makes me feel alive almost. If I know that that an episode isn't going to be uploaded for a few weeks and there's this fun craft project in my office, it's like, oh, well, that is going to be way more fun right now than editing the episode, right? So I think it's just a lot of like trying to manage my like misdirection, and I get depressed, I think, because I know I'm not focusing on the things that my higher self would prefer me to be doing. There's all these conflicting desires in a way, and I think that's very depressing for me. And when there's urgency where it's like, ooh, it's like I feel alive, but I also feel like I'm in control more. Like I'm in the zone now. I can do the thing that I want to do and I can get it done. And it's like, I feel inspired. Stress is not like totally bad. It's like anxiety is not totally bad. If there's a bell curve of it, like you want a little bit because it gets you going, but you don't want so much that it's like damaging to your body or slows you down. And so trying to stay on that, like this side where it's like positive and not negative is the challenge.
But yeah, it's very relatable. I am waiting for the official diagnosis for ADHD. The list is very, very long in the UK, so I am on the list. Yeah, and I can relate to stress being a motivator and a coping strategy to deal with the ADHD being like, what about this? What about this new flashy thing? What about this new idea that is so amazing that I want to do now? You know, and instead of all of that list of things that really matter to me, that really need doing. Yeah, but some of them are like really complicated and really boring and maybe later. And then suddenly it's like, they have to be done by now. Ooh, stress. Yeah, amazing. Hyper focus, done, you know. There was this thing on Instagram that I saw the other day, this little meme thingy that was like, you know, it's like, how come I spend the whole day procrastinating and focusing on everything else, and then between like 4:51 and 4:59, I do everything that I need to do in like 8. Yep. And I was like, I feel called out by this.
Yeah. Stress doesn't really give me GI issues like y'all were talking about, but it makes me feel so much physical pain. When I'm stressed, I just like clench up and my back and my shoulders hurt. And that's kind of the giveaway that I need to calm down and try to not stress about whatever I'm stressing about, which is never easy. But so yeah, that's how stress affects me. Just always feeling pain. I feel like a little old lady because I'm like stumbling around because everything in my body hurts. But as far as how I'm doing, I was struggling for like the past month or so. Things were getting really bad. So I eventually reached out to my therapist about it and we talked through some stuff. But it's weird because normally if I'm feeling like crap, there's a reason. I can pinpoint it and I can try to solve the problem. But this past experience it sort of blew me away in a way because I had no idea why I was feeling so shitty, but I was. I'm getting better now. I'm trying to take care of my body in a better way. You know, I'm trying to move more and do things that I enjoy doing. So that's helping. I am definitely ready for the weather to warm up so that I can get outside and do the things that I love to do. Yeah. I mean, I get outside to walk the dog and stuff, you know, and that helps, but I want to be outside and not freeze my butt off. You know, I want sunshine and birds chirping and stuff. So I only have a few more weeks, hopefully. We'll see. Who knows what Ohio weather will do, but.
Can I ask you more, like you mentioned walking with the dog. Is there anything else like that you've done to like, you know, get through?
When I was talking to my therapist about how I was feeling, we briefly talked about doing stuff that I enjoy doing, like indoor stuff. You know, I hung out with my little sister. You know, I try to do fun stuff with my kids. Like yesterday we went to a trampoline park and I went with a friend. So it was a fun play date. So at this point, I am feeling better. I'm not 100% better, but I'm just I'm trying to make plans to hang out with friends indoors so that I have something to look forward to. Whatever it takes, I do not want to slip back down that BPD pit.
I'm glad you were able to reach out. I think sometimes I don't know about you, but I'll be almost like, I don't want to bother my therapist with it. Or like, if I just ignore it, it'll go away.
That's what I told myself at first. Like, because I couldn't reach out to my friends because I don't want to be a burden and I don't want to bug them because we all have our own stuff going on. But I was getting suicidal. So, I knew it was time to burden someone. Not really, but I was like, I can't be feeling like this. So, and I felt flat. Like I love my kids and stuff, but it was just hard to be a good mom. I fed them and that was about it. I got them on the school bus and that was about it. So,
and I think like your therapist is probably the best person to reach out because they're trained in what to do. Yeah. And I found that like reaching out to friends are like, oh, you should reach out. But I realized kind of they're not equipped to deal with things when you say I'm feeling suicidal or I'm feeling, they don't know what to say. They don't. Yeah. They're not trained therapists.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and some of my friends knew, and they love me, and they were here for me. Excuse me, but yeah, Georgette, you're right. That's intense. I wouldn't know how to deal with that if a friend told me that. I mean, you support them, but you can't help them the way a therapist could. So
yeah. So Andrea, what have you been up to?
I really sympathize with you, Mo. Like January was shit. I just like went into like this spiral of just not understanding, like, why am I like this? Like, why do I have to think this way? Why do I have to be this way? Why are things bothering me like this? Like, why can't I just be normal? And it was just spiraling like out of control. I'm still sort of pulling out of it, but I'm also being, what would be the word, influenced by like another person in my life that I'm working on getting out of my life. I've just taken notice that when you start to change your life and you start to do positive things for yourself, you really start to see who belongs in your life and who needs to go. And that's really, really, really hard. I always want to just hope for better things. I always want to hope that things aren't as bad as what they are. And maybe it's me. Maybe I'm the one that's always freaking out. But then I just kind of realize like, no, I'm actually the one that's making the changes. I'm actually the one that's going in a better direction. So it's just, I just need to, my daughter calls it purging. She's like, you're just purging everything. She's like, just get it all out, just get everybody out, and sometimes, being lonely isn't that bad, as like the physical loneliness, realizing that maybe my close friends really aren't that great of friends, that sort of thing. So that's just kind of like what I've been going through, but I'm okay.
I'm really proud of you.
Good.
Stop it, Xannie. I don't want to cry today.
I want to talk to the voice that said, why can't I just be normal? And I want to tell that voice, look at all of us on this call. None of us would say we're normal. And we're pretty damn cool, no? Andrea, I think one thing that came to mind when you were talking as well at the end was you were talking about loneliness. And I think one thing that really changed for me is when I understood like the difference between being alone and being lonely. So like being alone is like the actual fact of like, I'm alone right now in a room by myself, and being lonely is like the emotion of feeling like it's just you and you have no one and all of that kind of stuff. And you can be lonely when you're surrounded by people if these people are not accepting of who you are and do not make you feel like you belong or like you're at home. And when I was listening to you, I was like, I feel like that person that you're trying to like get out of your life actually probably makes you feel lonely. And if you were alone, you might actually feel less lonely than with someone like that in your life.
Actually, I can share something then related to that I've been that I feel like are little wins that I've had, is the concept of like having a date night with myself. Like there's I don't have anything to do that night. And so instead of being like, oh, I'm by myself, I started thinking of it as like, oh, I'm on a date with myself, and what am I going to do? And I'll like light all the candles on my little yoga altar, and I'll put on incense, and I'll do some yoga, or I'll listen to music or a podcast or work on a craft. And I end up like really looking forward to that time to just be by myself. And that's like, so I'm alone, but I don't feel lonely because I'm happy with myself and like really value that time. So that's been my like little, oh, thank you, Solène. I see your heart. So that's been my little, that's a win for me. Cause I've never minded really doing anything. I know, hearts. I've never minded doing anything by myself. It's the change is that I don't feel lonely when I'm doing it. I feel fulfilled. So I think that's like a big change.
We are the only ones who can help ourselves in some ways. Like
100%,
there are some things that you can't. Yeah. But then sometimes it feels like you can't. You know, it's just.
So I had like probably my first in quite a while episode of emotional dysregulation. And I was very, very sad. And it was funny because I could kind of, I sort of realized like, whoa, you're really sad. But I wasn't able to pull myself out right away. Like one of the things my therapist said was to recognize, like, you are not sadness. You have a feeling of sadness. And, but in the moment when you're in that really, like they say in DBT, like emotion mind state, it's hard to kind of rein it in and have that thought. Cause I just think of it as like a whirlpool, and I'm like kind of being sucked down. So I was like sucked into the whirlpool. And, then all of a sudden though, I had like a realization and was like, oh, this has to stop. I have to stop this. And so I was really proud of myself. I went into the bathroom and I filled the sink up with super cold water, which was easy because it is winter here. And I dunked my face in, and I tried that tip skill. I dunked my face in, like, in that calmed down. And then I said, oh, I have phone coaching. And I reached out for phone coaching. And I was actually able to say, like, these are the 3 things I tried, you know, this is what I'm feeling. And I got through it. And I was able to come out of it. It didn't last the whole day. And I was pretty proud of myself because I haven't had that level of like dysregulation, is what I've always called it, in a while. And I was kind of embarrassed that it happened. I was embarrassed. Like, why did this happen? Because it felt like, you know, sometimes when you're like, oh, I'm in a functional recovery, you know, it's almost like embarrassing that something happens to you. It's like, oh, I've worked so hard and I'm doing this and that and the other thing, like, how could this happen? But I was, even looking back on it, I feel like is a small win, because I'm able to say, like, no, you know what, you overall, like, it happened, you kind of snapped out of it, like realized it was happening, you utilized skills, you've moved on. And so I was really proud of myself with that. I thought that was like a little win to share.
I feel like this kind of episode, it's just like getting to know you all, like, on a, you know, more like personal, deeper level. Yeah, I'm just really grateful for all of you. And I love, because so many things you say, I'm like, oh my this is it. This happens in my head. So it's just amazing. So yeah, thank you.
And I guess all of this is just to say that, life in functional recovery is not like without its challenges. And I think what makes it recovery, or like being in recovery, is that like maybe part of it is developing that confidence that you know how to make good decisions for yourself that don't really relate to what other people say you should do or what they think the right thing is. It's learning how to do things that are healthy for you and for your tribe, right? For the people to whom you belong.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yay.
those are like my... I love it. Okay. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching and hanging out with us today. Make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications so that you do not miss a single episode. Next week, we will be back with a special guest. So make sure to come back for that. We will see you then. So I guess that's it.
Till next time.
Bye.
Bye.